Li Miaomiao has traveled through time, dressed as a daughter of a foolish and filial son and a soft bun, a family of honest people. In order to avoid being so frustrated, Li Miaomiao's primary goal is to transform her parents and stay away from the female lead's family. However, before the plan was implemented, her parents were different from before she. It's very confusing. Is the agreed family all honest people? Why does it come with a premium buff? P.S. Happy Era Literature, Unyielding, Getting Rich and Rich keywords of the novel. To be the best in a time series without pop-ups, to be the best in a time series. Download the complete text and read the latest chapters in a time series. Chapter 1. Fighting. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1. Fighting. Li Miaomiao had just finished cutting half a basket of pigsty and was about to find a tree shade to rest and eat the mountain foam he had picked before. However, Li Miaomiao's cheap younger brother, Li Xiaopeng, hurriedly ran over and said, "Sister, it's not good. Dad and Mom are fighting." Li Miaomiao let out a sigh, crossed her legs and leisurely ate the mountain foam. Not to mention, the mountain foam she picked today was very sweet. Li Xiaopeng was so anxious that he said, "Sister, I said my parents were fighting. Why aren't you in a hurry at all?" Li Miaomiao directly blocked his mouth with Shanpao air and said, "Is it sweet?" Li Xiaopeng didn't nod. "Sweet." Seeing himself spitting saliva, Li Xiaopeng quickly covered his mouth with his hand until he eliminated the mountain blister in his mouth. He started nagging again, "Sister, I'm serious, there's a commotion over there. When I came over to call you, the captain had already gone. Li Xiaopeng is really anxious. What if his parents get divorced because of this? So he and his sister will become little cabbage then. Got it, why are you in a hurry? What can we do with our small arms and legs now? It's not too late to go after eating the mountain steed. I'm afraid we'll only have the chance to be cannon fodder now." Li Miaomiao didn't pick many mountain bubbles, and the siblings quickly eliminated them. Li Miaomiao patted the soil on his buttocks and carried a basket full of pig grass on his back, pulling Li Xiaopeng to the fields in a lively manner. At this moment, a thin and frail figure was chasing a tall man in the field, cursing and saying, "Li Jianxi, please stand still and let me do some work. You just procrastinate, you're still not a man. Don't go too far, Guan Chunyan. I think you're the woman who allowed you, so don't take any advantage." Li Jianxi, a young man, retorted while running. "Just kidding, if this woman catches up, will his face still be okay? I'm advancing every inch. You can't even compare your work to that of a child. How could you say that I'm advancing every inch? Please stop me now." The onlookers around were discussing one after another, "What's going on? Why did Li Jianxi and his wife start working again? How many times have they been together? I heard from Jianxi's wife that she was lazy in construction work and was caught, so the two of them started working. Do you believe that? The construction wife doesn't do much work, she's not as good as her sister. Law. I think the two of them just want to be lazy." The farce of the two chasing each other was not over yet, and the crowd of onlookers suddenly became humane. "The captain is here, make way." Captain Su Guanyuan had a black face at the moment and said, "What are you all doing around here? Why don't you hurry up and work for me? If the grain can't be harvested, I'll lose all my work points." Su Guanyuan had just finished teaching this group of onlookers a lesson when he saw that Li Jianxi and his wife had not stopped. He shouted loudly, "Li Jianxi, Guan Chunyan, if you continue to make trouble, I will deduct all of today's work points." Li Jianxi and Guan Chunyan stopped at the same time, and Guan Chunyan grabbed Su Guanyuan's arm and said, "Captain, you have to make the decision for me. It's a new era now, and Li Jianxi still beats his wife. You should teach him a lesson and help me." "Don't go too far, Guan Chunyan," said Li Jianxi, unable to continue listening. "Do you mean to say that I'm too much? If it weren't for you, would I have been through so much hardship? Haha. If it weren't for you." Just now, the two of them were still good, but now they started pushing and shoving again. when Li Miaomiao and his siblings rushed over in a hurry. These two couples fell off the field ridge together and fainted directly. New book release, passing by, don't miss it. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. Prohibition. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2 Prohibition. The just lively crowd instantly became chaotic. Captain Su Guanyuan's eyebrows twitched and he said, "What are you all doing in a daze? How many people are here to lift them up?" This group of people is the same. It's not a big deal to watch the excitement, and even if they feel dizzy, they don't know how to lift them up. As soon as the captain spoke, someone took the initiative to lift up Li Jianxi and his wife. The onlookers looked at Li Jianxi and his wife, whose heads were covered in mud, and said, "How are you?" "I don't know." Their heads were covered in mud, and they couldn't see either. Li Miaomiao pushed aside the crowd and squeezed in, wiping away her tears and shouting loudly, "Mom and Dad, what's wrong with you?" Although I didn't know exactly what was going on, I told Li Miaomiao rationally that crying was the right thing to do. "Zhao Di, you can count it. You don't know how fierce your parents fought just now. If you come a little later, you won't be able to see your parents," said a sarcastic-looking woman. Someone couldn't bear to watch anymore. "What did you say, Mrs. Zhang? Who doesn't fight between the two of them? Why would someone be killed when it comes to you?" "That's right, why are the words of the villagers so malicious?" Zhang's sister Law was not convinced. "Why am I so malicious? I'm not telling the truth yet." Li Xiaopeng also arrived at this moment. Seeing Li Miaomiao crying so miserably, he thought that Li Jianxi and his wife had really had an accident and cried louder than Li Miaomiao. Li Miaomiao cried for a long time before sobbing and saying to Su Guanyuan, "Captain, my parents can't work like this now. Could you please ask someone to take them to the clinic?" Su Guanyuan was about to nod when he saw the miserable appearance of Li Jianxi and his wife. Mrs. Li, who heard the wind, called out, "You're not allowed to take it to the clinic." Su Guanyuan's face turned black as he looked at the person in front of him. "I said, Auntie, your family's construction is like this for both families. Why don't you send them to the clinic?" Mrs. Li crossed her waist and said, "If I don't give it away, then I won't give it away." "Zhaodi, you blind girl, why don't you shout your parents out?" These two lazy people, without looking at them for a moment, started to slack off. Li Miaomiao only cried and said, "Mom and Dad, why are you all so unlucky? You've been working hard all day and can't even get a bite of delicious food. You've knocked out your breasts and won't be able to see a doctor. What if something happens and you keep us siblings?" The siblings cried bitterly, causing sympathy from many women watching the scene. Who made Li Miaomiao tell the truth? Who in the Huangjiang production brigade didn't know that Li Jianxi and his wife had a low status at home? Usually, when I take an extra bite at home, I get pointed at and scolded by Mrs. Li. Now that Zhao Di wants to take her parents to the clinic, isn't that taking Mrs. Li's life? I'm talking about Auntie Li, why don't you send the construction couple to the clinic for a look? It won't cost much to see a doctor. Mrs. Li jumped and said, "You sound good. Of course you don't feel sorry if you don't pay. Your boss doesn't come back with less salary every month, and you can't bear to give a few cents to the third party." I said, "Mrs. Li, you are too biased. Do we need you, an outsider, to give us some guidance on the Li family's affairs?" Su Guanyuan was too lazy to listen to Mrs. Li's arguments. He called for a few people to take Li Jianxi and his wife home, and the rest of them quickly sent them to the ground. "Do you still need a day's work? I tell you, if we can't harvest enough grain this year, don't blame me for saying something unpleasant." This year's summer harvest task was already heavy, and this group of people were still making jokes. "Auntie, don't join in the fun here. Hurry up and get to work." "No, I have to call out the third couple." She said nothing to let the third couple slack off. Passing by, don't forget to collect and invest a wave. End of this chapter. Chapter 3. Plans unable to keep up with changes. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Chapter 3. Plans unable to keep up with changes. In the end, Su Guangyuan went berserk, and only then did old Lady Li grind her way back to the ground, cursing Li Jianxi and his wife along the way. At this point, Li Jianxi and his wife had already been carried back to the Li family. Of course, Li Miaomiao would not let anyone carry her parents directly to bed. Their family only had a large bed and a small bed. The big bed belongs to her parents, while the small bed naturally belongs to her and her cheap brother. If this bed gets dirty, her parents will have to make a floor at night. Li Miaomiao brought a few chairs from the main room and closed them, then asked them to put people on the chairs. The young man in charge said, "Zhao Di, we have already sent the person back. The field is still busy, so we won't delay." Li Miaomiao tried hard to squeeze out 2 drops of golden beans and said, "Thank you, uncles and uncles. If it weren't for you, my parents would still be lying in the field." That posture is almost like kneeling and kowtowing. The several men present all had children at home. Seeing Li Miaomiao feel heartbroken, "Thank you, everyone is from the same team. Zhao Di, please take good care of your parents." "I will do it," Li Miaomiao choked and sent the person out. As soon as she stepped back, she saw her fainting parents standing up with a carp. Li Miaomiao said as if he had seen a ghost, "Mom and Dad, are you okay?" Li Jianxi and Guan Chunyan looked guilty and hesitated about what to say when Li Miaomiao smiled and said, "Mom and Dad, it's really great that you guys are okay. You scared me to death just now. I knew you were pretending." Li Jianxi and Guan Chunyan are even more guilty, always feeling that they are not right in deceiving children. But if we don't deceive the children, the 2 of them will have to go down to the ground. If one of them is a wealthy lady, and the other is a weak scholar who can't carry her shoulders or hands, let them go down to the ground. Isn't that killing them? Pretending every day is already the limit. Li Jianxi was stared at by Li Miaomiao, her face not flushed and her heart not jumping, saying, "I feel dizzy." Guan Chunyan looked contemptuous. "She didn't even faint, did he faint?" "Dad, take a break first, I'll go fetch water to wash you and Mom." Li Miaomiao bounced away. "I said Li Jianxi, don't go too far. You pretend to be addicted, right?" "I didn't pretend, I'm really dizzy," Li Jianxi said without changing her expression. Guan Chunyan was so angry. Li Miaomiao quickly brought water and towels. While Guan Chunyan was washing her face, Li Miaomiao helped them find their clothes. They are not favored in the 3rd room, and their clothes are all patched and patched. After washing her face, Guan Chunyan still wants to wash her hair, but she is worried about being scolded by Mrs. Li for washing her hair, so she decided not to wash it. When changing clothes, Guan Chunyan kicked Li Jianxi and her daughter out. Li Miaomiao carried a basin and left, followed by Li Jianxi. Li Miaomiao heard her father muttering, "Women are just trouble." Li Miaomiao is certain that Li Jianxi is not her father, to be precise, not the honest father of her original self. On the day Li Miaomiao first wore it, she thought she was dreaming, so she didn't find it strange from her parents. As time passed and with the events of these past few days, she was certain that she was wearing a book. The dress is still a lucky package chronology that I have read for a long time. The female owner in the book is certainly not her. Their family is not even a supporting role, but a cannon fodder tool man. However, the book says that her parents are both honest people, and they dare not speak loudly, let alone fight. As a result, in the past few days when she came here, her parents have only fought 2 or 3 times without saying anything. Fighting is also a common occurrence. Li Miaomiao couldn't help but sigh. What should I do? She originally wanted to reform her parents. The plan failed to keep up with the changes. "Sister, how are parents doing?" Li Xiaopeng's sudden appearance startled Li Miaomiao. This chapter has been revised, and don't miss it as you pass by. There are various requests for the new book, end of this chapter. Chapter 4. I don't do it. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. Chapter 4. I don't do it. Where did you go? Why did you come back now? Li Xiaopeng looked aggrieved and said, Sister, I'm going to pick up the backpack you left behind. Li Miaomiao looked behind him and saw Li Xiaopeng carrying a backpack that didn't quite match his height. The look was as comical as it was. Li Miaomiao smiled unkindly and quickly helped him take off his backpack. Go fetch some water to wash it, she said. Li Xiaopeng shook his head and said, No, I'll go see my parents. Li Miaomiao grabbed him and said, Mom is changing clothes in the room. Go and wash them first. Li Xiaopeng reluctantly went to the kitchen to scoop water and wash his face. Li Miaomiao placed the basket in the corner of the wall and helped Li Jianxi fetch a basin of water. Thank you, daughter, he said. Li Miaomiao exclaimed in surprise, Dad, when have you been so polite? Li Jianxi's body stiffened, forgetting that the protagonist would not say thank you to his daughter, and some would only say thank you to my daughter for her hard work, or that she has become sensible. Li Miaomiao ignored Li Jianxi's small gesture and turned to ask her mother if she had changed her clothes. All right. Guan Chunyan came out with a disdainful expression on her face. It wasn't she who said that the Li family was also too poor, dressed like beggars. As soon as she came out, Li Jianxi went back to the house to change clothes. Li Xiaopeng washed his face and rushed over to hug Guan Chunyan's leg, acting coquettishly. Guan Chunyan patted Li Xiaopeng's head and said, I'm fine, your dad can't beat me. Li Jianxi heard a cold snort and said, Can't he beat it? He is a good man who doesn't fight women. After pouring water, Li Miaomiao came over and said, Mom, you and Dad should rest at home. I'll go cut the pigsty. Her parents' persona has collapsed, she can't collapse yet. What are you cutting? Your little arms and legs should rest at home. At such a young age, she didn't even know what pig grass was, let alone cutting it. Li Miaomiao pouted, If I don't go, I'll have no food to eat later. Seeing the way she entrusted Chu Baba, Guan Chunyan felt heartbroken and said, Listen to me, don't go. There are so many people at home, why should you cut pig grass alone? Do you have to listen to what your milk says? Are you stupid? She despises such a cowardly person the most. Even if the original owner is cowardly, how could she still let her daughter live such a cowardly life? Isn't it true that this is the new century and we don't have that old-fashioned mindset anymore? Li Miaomiao was still there, but Guan Chunyan snatched the basket from her hand and said, Don't go there today, both siblings. Just play at home. The children in the second room are even older than her daughter. They haven't even landed on the ground. Why should she let her daughter do this and that? Li Jianxi came out at this time. As soon as he came out, Guan Chunyan said, If you don't believe me, ask your father if she is willing to let you go and cut pigsty. Li Jianxi wanted to ask him what he was doing, but under the gaze of 3 pairs of eyes, he struggled to say those 2 words that he couldn't go. Guan Chunyan was happy and said, You see, your father has already spoken. Zhao Di, please don't go. Li Miaomiao looked convinced and really took Li Xiaopeng out to play. As soon as their siblings left, Guan Chunyan pulled Li Jianxi into the house. Li Jianxi put on a defensive stance and said, Let me tell you, a gentleman can speak but not act. It's okay in front of outsiders. You can't mess around at home. Guan Chunyan. I really want to take action, can you resist it? How can she say she has also practiced in her previous life? Li Jianxi. It seems like that's the case. Guan Chunyan felt relieved at his cowardly behavior and said, All right, I won't take action. Let's have a good chat later. When it comes to character design, I think it's quite cheerful. When it comes to writing, wow, end of this chapter. Chapter 5. One Heart. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. Chapter 5. One Heart. With Guan Chunyan's assurance, Li Jianxi walked slowly into the room. After Guan Chunyan entered the house, she signaled to Li Jianxi to close the door. Li Jianxi looked wary and said, "What should we do when we close the door? Is there anything we can't say with the door open? What if someone hears me if I don't close the door?" Guan Chunyan glared at him. Although the people of the Li family will not come back, it cannot be guaranteed that their son and daughter will not come. If they hear about it, it doesn't seem good. Li Jianxi locked the door and Guan Chunyan opened it to the mountain and said, "What are your plans for the future?" "I don't have any plans, I want to see if I can go back," said Li Jianxi with a wooden face. Yes, he hasn't given up hope of going back yet. Compared to having endless work to do every day, he still wants to go back and read his book and become his top scorer. The days here are too difficult, just half a month's work. Li Jianxi feels that after several lifetimes, he doesn't know how he persevered during this period. "Do you think I don't want to go back? It's been so long and we're still here, which means we can't go back anymore. You don't even understand this simple truth. I don't know if you're just reading your mind off. Before this, I had to keep my mouth shut and take the top spot exam. Apart from joking with her, I couldn't expect anything else. So what do you say?" Li Jianxi stared at Guan Chunyan. "What else can we do? Let's just live our lives. Isn't that what you scholars talk about the most?" "Forget it, I don't know what that said. Anyway, since we occupy someone else's identity, we have to take on this responsibility no matter what. Besides, you don't know what kind of life these couple live at home. Don't Guan Chunyan want to go back? She also wants to. Her family only has her brother and her siblings. When she has an accident, her parents and brothers don't know how to worry. If she had known that there would be today, what kind of temple fair would she go to with her little sisters that day? If she didn't go to the temple fair, she would not have met Li. If she didn't meet Li, she would not have such bad luck. Forget about the past." Li Jianxi fell silent. Of course, he knew what kind of life the original owner's family was living, and he didn't think anything was wrong before. After all, filial piety comes first in all things. There's nothing wrong with being the obedient mother of my son and daughter. In law, but now Li Jianxi doesn't think much anymore. These days are not human, why do you listen to your mother? When he was silent, Guan Chunyan continued, "We still need to discuss and come up with a constitution. Otherwise, who can bear it if it goes down like this every day? You can't pretend to fight and argue every day, can you? Although this is a good idea, it is unnecessary and can easily scare children. So I'll find a job." Yes, the original owner didn't have to go down to the ground because he had a job. Guan Chunyan looked at him foolishly and said, "Didn't you say it's difficult to find a job now? It's okay, you have no connections, and you don't have money. How can you find a job?" If it weren't for her memory of the original owner, she would have believed it quickly. Li Jianxi choked and forgot about it. "Forget it, let's talk about finding a job later. For now, let's find a way to stand up at home. After all, we are also husband and wife now, so you need to be with me." Guan Chunyan has considered divorce. Although the world is not so strict with women, divorced women are also subject to gossip. Moreover, the original owner's family was not very kind to her daughter. What if they divorce and find a man for her? Rather than finding someone else, it's better to just make do with the current life. Although Li Jianxi is not very nice, at least they have known each other for 2 lifetimes. What she could consider, of course Li Jianxi could also consider it, so this time he didn't say anything against it. "I agree with what you said. Don't just agree, you also need to protect the 2 children. After all, they are also your son and daughter. Look at them as thin as monkeys, and then look at your big brother and second brother's house, each one is strong." Guan Chunyan talked a lot and then poured a bowl of water into her stomach before stopping. End of this chapter. You made a mistake in chapter 6. You are listening at novelfull.audio. You made a mistake in chapter 6 even if there were elements of deceiving Guan Chunyan. Li Jianxi had to agree. Who made them two grasshoppers on the same rope now? So he promised Guan Chunyan, I will try my best to do what you say, and I will work hard to support your mother and others. Why does Mrs. Li only bully their third wife? It's either because the original owner is too honest and doesn't know how to stand up for his wife and children. If he stands up, the third wife wouldn't be like this. Although he has taken over the other person's body, it does not mean that he cannot despise the original owner. The two of them discussed the regulations for the future, and Guan Chunyan sent Li Jianxi to the river to fetch water and come back to wash clothes. On July day, after washing, the clothes would dry out in the afternoon. Can I not go? Li Jianxi really doesn't want to move, carrying water is too tiring. Guan Chunyan gave a glance and said, if you don't go, do you still want me to go? Just now, I swore confidently that I would support their mother for a long time. How long has it been since then, and this person is going to go back on his word? Li Jianxi kept muttering in his heart, what did he just promise to do so quickly? Seeing Guan Chunyan's gaze, Li Jianxi shook her head and said, forget it. He is a man and cannot be too particular with women. Li Jianxi and his wife were discussing something that Li Miaomiao and his siblings naturally didn't know. At this moment, Li Miaomiao had already taken Li Xiaopeng up the mountain to find food. Speaking of which, Li Miaomiao was also saddened. He worked hard for more than a decade and finally graduated from university to find a job. He was able to repay his parents, but ended up traveling inexplicably. Time travel is time travel, and others usually have space and systems. She tried it all, but there was no hair left. Li Miaomiao felt that if she continued to tinker, Li Xiaopeng would suspect that she was mentally ill. Li Miaomiao became more and more angry as he thought about it. He kicked the stone and the next second, the whole mountain heard Li Miaomiao's screams. Sister, are you okay? Li Xiaopeng heard his sister's screams and immediately ran over. Li Miaomiao covered one foot and grinned, do you think I'm okay? Li Xiaopeng observed for a few seconds and said, no, it's quite like singing a grand opera. Li Miaomiao reached out to drive him away and said, go ahead, hurry up and find something to eat. At noon, she drank half a bowl of porridge, and now she was hungry. It was not good to feel empty. If it weren't for all the food at home being locked in Mrs. Li's room, Li Miaomiao would have stolen it long ago. Fortunately, Li Xiaopeng had good luck. After wandering around the area for a long time, he found a few wild eggs. Li Xiaopeng was overjoyed and offered them to Li Miaomiao like a treasure. Sister, look, I just found them. Li Miaomiao was afraid that he would break the wild eggs, so he quickly asked him to slow down. Li Xiaopeng found a total of 8 wild eggs, and their family each had 2 just right. Li Miaomiao planned to find firewood to roast wild eggs, but fortunately she was clever and brought a match when she came out. Li Xiaopeng looked at his sister, but kept swallowing saliva. Sister, shouldn't we take the eggs back? Why bring it back? Of course I eat it now. Joking, if I bring it back, their siblings might not be able to eat a bite. But you used to say you had something good to take home. Maybe you could even have scrambled eggs tonight, Li Xiaopeng thought happily. Li Miaomiao tapped Li Xiaopeng's head and said, that's definitely not what I said. You remember wrong, and in the future, if you find something good, don't bring it back. Let's eat it ourselves. Why do the second house guys go out every day catching sparrows and digging bird eggs, and I haven't seen them bring them back? Why do they want to bring them back? Li Xiaopeng covered his head and said, Sister, don't knock on my head. If you knock again, you'll be foolish. How do you remember not knocking on you? Li Miaomiao explained. Li Xiaopeng was not convinced and said, I remember even if I don't knock. Recommended and collected, end of this chapter. Chapter 7. Lazy Dead. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7 Lazy Dead. Li Miaomiao praised, we Xiaopeng are really amazing. Li Xiaopeng is visibly shy. Anyway, the wild eggs couldn't be kept when they were taken back. Li Miaomiao roasted the wild eggs on the spot, and after the siblings finished dealing with the 2 wild eggs in one go, the remaining ones were wrapped in leaves by Li Miaomiao. They didn't rush to leave, but after destroying the fire and eggshells, they turned around a few more times. Perhaps Li Miaomiao's luck was too bad, and he didn't gain much after spinning several times. The siblings had to go back first. The sun in July was particularly scorching, and the little faces of Li Miaomiao and his siblings turned red from the sun. In the Li family's yard, Guan Chunyan had already washed and hung the clothes. "Where did you go to play? How did you shine like this?" Even though Guan Chunyan had never been a mother before, her original memories were still there. Seeing them now, she felt heartbroken and took a handkerchief to wipe their sweat. Li Xiaopeng couldn't help but grin and said, "We went to the mountains." "What are you doing in the mountains? It's such a hot day, can't you play well at home?" "These 2 children are really good, running so far doesn't feel too hot." "Find something to eat," Li Miaomiao whispered. Guan Chunyan was dumbfounded, blaming both the original owner and herself. Guan Chunyan felt that she was derelict in her duties, so she focused on herself and neglected whether the 2 children had enough to eat every day. Yes, neither of them adults can eat enough, let alone the 2 children. Li Miaomiao has been observing Guan Chunyan's expression since the beginning, but unfortunately her expression is similar to the one in her impression. Whenever she is bullied or wronged, she also looks like she is self-blaming. Causing Li Miaomiao to be unable to judge for a moment, her mother is still not her former mother. So she decided to observe again. However, when Li Miaomiao pulled out roasted wild eggs in front of Li Jianxi and his wife, Guan Chunyan's eyes visibly turned red. Compared to her, Li Jianxi was extremely embarrassed. He's so big that he hasn't even thought about snatching food from the child's mouth. "Mom and Dad, we have already eaten, and these are the ones we left for you." Li Miaomiao was the first to break the deadlock. "Your father and I don't eat it, you're still growing, you eat it." If you're talking about greed, Guan Chunyan is also greedy. She has been here for half a month and has only eaten eggs once. That time, it was because several nephews in the second room wanted to eat it. Mrs. Li only fried a plate of eggs, and Guan Chunyan tasted it. In her previous life, she would have lacked an egg. She was suffering, and Li Jianxi felt that she was also suffering. What kind of life is this? At the strong request of Li Miaomiao's siblings, Li Jianxi and Guan Chunyan each ate a wild egg, and Guan Chunyan kept the remaining 2 wild eggs for them to eat at night. Taking advantage of Li Miaomiao's siblings going out to throw eggshells, Li Jianxi and Guan Chunyan inside the house both said, "We can't continue to endure it anymore. For oneself. Also for the 2 children." When it was getting dark, Mrs. Li and her team returned from work. As soon as they entered the yard, Mrs. Li rushed to the entrance of the 3rd room and cursed loudly. "You 2 lazybones who kill thousands of dollars know you're lazy and lazy all day long. Last job, you fought there for me and stayed at home all afternoon. How could I give birth to something like you?" A group of people in the 2nd room of the big house were standing there watching the excitement. At this moment, there was nothing good to say about the 3rd room. Why are they so busy and exhausted all afternoon, while the 3 of them are just lying at home all afternoon? Mrs. Li spat and cursed for a long time, knowing that the 3 doors had not been opened. Seeking collections, recommending various demands, end of this chapter. Chapter 8. Disputes between mother.in.law and daughter.in.law. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8 Disputes between mother.in.law and daughter.in.law. Mrs. Li was shouting angrily outside. At this moment, a few kids from the 2nd room came back from playing wildly outside. As soon as they entered the yard, they said to their mother Zhang Guiyue, "Mom, when will we eat? Our stomachs are hungry." Zhang Guiyue glanced at Mrs. Li, who was spitting profusely. At this moment, she dared not touch the mold. So Zhang Guiyue said to her 3 sons, ask for your milk. Zhang Guiyue's eldest son, Li Xiaohu, is a tiger. He touched his hungry belly and walked over to his milk, saying, Milk, when will we eat? I'm hungry. As soon as Mrs. Li saw Li Xiaohu, her angry expression immediately turned amiable. My good grandson is hungry, I'll let your mother cook, she said. Zhang Guiyue, who was named, said, Mom, I've been working all day today and I'm already exhausted. I should let my 3rd younger brother and sister go about cooking. She's been lying at home all afternoon. Zhang Guiyue is also a lazy person, and in just a few words, she pointed the finger at Guan Chunyan. Su Guifan in the big room watched the commotion expressionlessly. Mrs. Li thought to herself and said, Open the door, you from the 3rd family, hurry up and come out to cook for me. The whole family is still waiting for you. Mrs. Li thought she was going to knock for a long time, but just as she finished speaking, Guan Chunyan helped the door out. Mom, you're back. I just fell asleep too late and didn't hear you. I threw my head in the afternoon and it's still hurting. Can you give me some money? I'll go to the clinic to take a look. Mrs. Li's face turned black like the bottom of a pot. What is this called to listen to the 3rd wife's words? Just slept too late, didn't you hear me? She has such a loud voice that even the pigs in the backyard can hear her, but she can't hear her like a dead person. Mom, don't listen to my 3rd wife's nonsense. She just wants to slack off and not work, said Zhang Guiyue before Mrs. Li spoke. Upon hearing that Guan Chunyan didn't want to work, old lady Li's anger flickered outwards and she said, You're good, Guan Chunyan. You've married our family and enjoyed it, haven't you? Do you still want me to serve you? Later, I'll ask your mother how she taught her daughter. I also want to ask Mom, what about you? As a daughter.in.law, why can my sister.in.law and sister.in.law be lazy every day? I can't even take a day off. Should our 3rd wife be bullied? Just ask Mrs. Li why. You. Mrs. Li choked on Guan Chunyan for a moment and couldn't speak. The next second, Mrs. Li sat on the ground without any image and said that her life was hard. Li Xiaohu stared blankly at his milk. Isn't he just hungry and wanting to eat? Why did his wife and 3rd aunt sing in big dramas? Can't he stop eating? When Guan Chunyan saw that Mrs. Li had put on the show, she also began to cry, my fate is hard. I have been married to the Li family for so long, and I haven't had enough to eat. I have been bullied by my wicked mother.in.law all day. I want to go find the captain to judge me. It's a new society, and there are also malicious mother.in.law who treat their daughter.in.law as a long-term worker. I want to ask if the captain should be arrested for being such a typical person. After Guan Chunyan finished speaking, she walked out. Little did they know that everyone present looked at Guan Chunyan like ghosts, saying that dogs would bite people without barking. That's it for the 3rd wife. At this moment, Mrs. Li didn't have time to cry anymore. From the eldest and 2nd families, hurry up and stop her for me. It's okay to lose face at home, how can we throw it outside? Zhang Guiyue waited for these words, rushed forward and hugged Guan Chunyan directly. I'm sorry for my younger siblings. Mom asked me to do this, she said. Mrs. Li rushed up to the ground and said, Go ahead, if you dare, I'll break your leg. Mom, whose leg are you breaking? End of this chapter. Chapter 9. Angry people don't pay for their lives. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9. Angry people don't pay for their lives. Li Jianxi came out of the room with a calm face. Seeing him, Mrs. Li began to wipe away her tears and said, 3rd, you came out just in time. You mother.in.law, just say you don't care. She actually wants to sue me in front of the team leader. I'll pull up your brothers with a bunch of feces and urine. What's my plan? Mrs. Li cried and scolded for a long time, just waiting for Li Jianxi to teach Guan Chunyan a lesson. She knew that Li Jianxi not only didn't mention Guan Chunyan, but also retorted, "Mom, Chunyan didn't say anything wrong. If it weren't for your favoritism, would she have such a big opinion of you? Mom, don't you just keep your mouth open and it's just feces and urine. If you don't feel disgusted, I still feel disgusted. What a sin, it's all due to Mrs. Li's vulgarity, which has caused him to lose his reputation. You unfilial son, black-hearted thing." Mrs. Li, who had never been challenged by Li Jianxi, was so angry that she almost fainted. To be honest, why is it a black-hearted liver? Mom, I was born to you. If I were a black-hearted liver, what are you? Old black-hearted liver. Li Jianxi said confidently. Guan Chunyan, who was stopped by Zhang Guiyue, clapped and cheered in her heart. This person has always been venomous, and when she speaks of herself, she leaves no room for mercy. Unexpectedly, when she scolds Mrs. Li, it makes people so happy. Mrs. Li sat down on the ground and said, "I won't live anymore. How dare my son disobey my mother? Oh my goodness, please open your eyes." As the eldest daughter-in-law of Mrs. Li, Su Guifan stood on Mrs. Li's side at this critical moment. I said, "Third, my mother is an elder, and she's doing this for your good. Are you still not willing to go?" Li Jianxi looked calm and said, "I'm not unhappy. Am I telling the truth? Sister-in-law, if you find my words unpleasant, you can help my wife with some work. If you can still say that Mom is for your own good after finishing it, then I admire you. Mom, don't cry on the ground anymore. If you turn around and dirty your clothes, you'll have to let my wife wash them again. Aren't you holding on to your fill and causing trouble?" Su Guifan's face stiffened as she had been married to the old Li family for so many years, and it was the first time she had been slapped in the face by her uncle like this. Mrs. Li can't cry anymore. She used to think that the third generation was honest only when she was blind. Just listen to what he said, and it's not bad if she didn't get angry. After Li Jianxi finished speaking, she put on a good look for Mrs. Li and said, "Mom, you're right to get up. If someone else sees you, they think you're unreasonable and intentionally bullying people." Mrs. Li. She's just bullying people. What's wrong? Zhang Guiyue, who is still blocking Guan Chunyan, has long been confused. What's the situation? Isn't it a lesson for the third couple? Zhang Guiyue wanted to ask, but she didn't dare. Mrs. Li patted the dust off her body and gave the key she had with her to Su Guifan, asking her and Zhang Guiyue to cook. Su Guifan was a bit reluctant. "Mom, I've been tired all day." Mrs. Li shook her face and said, "Are you tired?" "Am I not tired? If you want to cook, hurry up. It's okay to be publicly slapped by the third party, but the eldest wife also wants to rebel." "No way." Li Jianxi leaned over to Mrs. Li and said, "Mom, that's right. My wife can't cook alone. She doesn't cook well and it's a waste of food. It's like my sister-in-law and sister-in-law got a true transmission from Mom. By the way, Mom, I still have a headache. Can you give me some money to go get some medicine?" "I don't have any money, get out of here." Mrs. Li's chest hurts when she sees Li Jianxi now. Li Jianxi was willing to give up and followed behind Mrs. Li. "Mom, can you get me some brown sugar? I want to drink some brown sugar water to supplement it." End of this chapter. Chapter 10. Good Bullying. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10. Good Bullying. Old Lady Li rubbed her anger up again and said, "You big head ghost, what brown sugar water do you drink as a big man? Is that kind of precious thing you can drink?" "Mom, what you said, why can't I drink? Am I not a part of this family anymore?" Li Jianxi persisted. Seeing that Mrs. Li remained silent, Li Jianxi began to nag again, "Mom, why aren't you talking? If you share something that can be drunk in both the big and second rooms, it won't be possible to drink in our third room, right? What a sin! How could I have given birth to such a son? Old man, you've come back to me. The third son is going to force me, the mother, to death. Mrs. Li began to howl again. Li Jianxi turned around and saw the old man Li entering the yard. Dad, you came back just in time. I had a headache and asked my mom to give me money to go to the clinic. Mom was unwilling to give me the money. I said I wanted to drink brown sugar water to nourish my body, but she couldn't bear it. Dad, can you tell me if I'm from this family? Third, Mom is used to being frugal and you don't know why you caught Mom without saying anything. Second, Li Jiandang directly trained Li Jianxi. When did I say, damn it? I'm not telling the truth yet. Why did the third bedroom live so hard, and the benefits were not taken over by the second bedroom? What's the fuss? Can you just give him some brown sugar, said Mr. Li with a black face. He has been tired all day, finally able to rest, and his home is still restless. You're talking about lightness, brown sugar is so precious. It's for little Tiger and his brothers to nourish their bodies. Old San's body is so strong, what can he nourish? There's no way she could give brown sugar to third Fang. Mom, Xiaopeng is also your grandson. Why didn't you say you wanted to supplement him? Poor little Peng is so big that he doesn't even know what brown sugar water tastes like. He's so thin, he looks like something. I'll go ask the captain and ask the Women's Federation to manage class rule. After Guan Chunyan finished speaking, she left. Old Li's eyebrows twitched and he said, Third wife, come back for me. Li Jiandang stopped watching the excitement and quickly went to persuade Guan Chunyan. I said to my third wife, why bother with a small matter to the captain? The captain is so busy. Mrs. Li said, let her go, let me see if the Women's Federation is standing on her side or on my side. Guan Chunyan ran away directly. Old man Li glared at old lady Li and asked Li Jianxi to call Guan Chunyan back. Li Jianxi didn't move and said, I won't go. Mom's actions are unfair, so she should receive education from the Women's Federation. Mr. Li choked and said, you damn old lady, why don't you bring me brown sugar? The dead old lady doesn't think it's embarrassing, he still thinks it's embarrassing. Even though Mrs. Li was reluctant, she still moved into the room. Mr. Li said, Third, your mother has gone to get brown sugar. Hurry up and bring your wife back. Dad, that's what you're talking about. If my mom doesn't give brown sugar, I'll personally go and call the Women's Federation to my door. Mr. Li, This unfilial son. Li Jianxi was tall and had long legs, and quickly caught up with the angry Guan Chunyan. What are you doing here? Li Jianxi told Guan Chunyan what she had just said, and Guan Chunyan sneered, the old man now knows he's afraid. What did he do before? Did he really think we were easy to bully? Li Jianxi agreed, it's because we're too easy to bully that no one listens when we talk. Guan Chunyan. Will this person die if he doesn't scold her? End of this chapter.